Hello, I'm Henry Keane and we are UATV English. We're online to give you the Ukrainian perspective of reality of war. Watch in the episode. US cuts weapons supply for Ukraine. Donald Trump sees Putin as a mediator for Middle East war. Drones fight their way through. Frontline report for you. Please comment and subscribe to our channel while watching this episode. By doing so, you help us to fight off Russian criminal aggression. Welcome to the News Pulse. You can call it official now. The United States is stepping back from its military support for Ukraine. All good, no panic. We all expected that, right? During congressional hearings this week, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, that's right, confirmed that the Trump administration has adopted a notably different stance to Russian terror from that of previous American administrations. A negotiated peaceful settlement, whatever that means, NPS of sorts, is now seen as preferred term in the best interest of Ukraine, Russia and the United States, says United States.
This is a reduction in this budget. This administration has a completely different view of this conflict. We believe that a peaceful settlement through negotiations is in the best interests of both sides and in the interest of our country. Pete Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense, during a speech to the U.S. Congress.
As the hearings were focused on the U.S. military budget for 2026, the message was impossible to miss. Defending Ukraine is now Europe's responsibility. Since Russia's full-scale criminal invasion began in February 2022, the U.S. has provided around $74 billion in military aid to Ukraine. This assistance has included critical systems such as the Patriot air defense batteries, long-range artillery, HIMARS and ATACMS missiles, tanks, armored vehicles, and millions of artillery rounds, equipment vital, no less, to Ukraine's survival. Some of the aid approved under the Biden administration is still making its way through the procurement pipelines. It is highly unlikely that it will make it through now. The reality is stark. When Ukraine is lost, our most powerful military backer as of this moment, and the new geopolitical alliances are to be formed ASAP. That leaves Ukraine and Kyiv with three potential paths. First, it can hope Europe steps in to provide the necessary weapons and equipment. Second, as President Zelensky recently suggested, Ukraine could purchase US weapons using European funds. Third way is Ukraine can ramp up its domestic arms production with European financial support, or to adopt all three strategies at once to ramp up the resistance against Russian offensive and conduct strikes deep into the Russian rear. Analysts from Institute for the Study of War, ISW, have noted that Russian leader Vladimir Putin is likely trying to divert attention from Russia's war against Ukraine by offering to mediate in the Middle East war.
Vladimir Putin continues to portray Russia as an effective and necessary international partner for the United States amid ongoing Iran-Israel tensions, likely attempting to distract from ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine. From the report by the Institute for the Study of War.
That mediation idea, I'm sure Donald Trump, of course, is happy about it. Imagine all three of them sit at the table and talk things over, like, "Oh, those good old days when there was no Israel," sighs Iranian President Pezeshkian. "Yeah, and no Ukraine also," sighs Russian dictator Putin. "Oh yes, and maybe back then I could spend $45 million of American people's money on my birthday without 5 million of them outrageously outpouring their disdain to the streets of America in 2,000 plus American cities, calling for no kings," says His Majesty Donald Trump. Trump also said on 14th of June that he and Putin had spoken on the phone for about an hour about Israel strikes on Iran and devoted, I quote, much less time this time to Ukraine than to Iran. Well, it's just another opportunity for Trump to end another war in 24 hours, or not. Putin's foreign policy advisor Yuri Ushakov the same day said Putin and Trump had primarily discussed the escalation of the military conflict in the Middle East, and Ushakov claimed that Putin had expressed concerns over the rising tensions between Iran and Israel and offered Russia's help even in talks for a peaceful settlement. Trump said that during the conversation, he reminded Putin that the war against Ukraine also must end. Must end. Is a key to the castle, is it not? No matter if it is a peace for Ukraine without Putin, or it is a piece of Ukraine for Putin. But indeed, Trump noted that Putin is actually doing the planned prisoner swaps. Large numbers of prisoners are being exchanged immediately from both sides. Well, we'd like to add something to Mr. Trump. The Center for Countering Disinformation of Ukraine has debunked a false Russian narrative, again alleging that Ukraine deliberately avoided recovering the majority of its fallen soldiers to evade financial compensation for their families. In a statement published on its Telegram channel, the center pointed out that pro-Russian media are pumping up a completely fabricated report allegedly attributed to Deutsche Welle. The fake story claims that Ukraine has only retrieved 1,200 out of 6,000 bodies because families of the other soldiers did not sign waivers refusing compensation. So Russians say that only those bodies are returned to families to waive their compensation right. The center confirmed that such an article was never published by Deutsche Welle. According to Ukrainian authorities, this type of disinformation reflects a broader Russian information campaign aimed at undermining public trust in the Ukrainian government and the ongoing process of repatriating our fallen servicemen that without a shadow of a doubt is onwards and will be completed.
Fake information is spreading online, claiming that the German newspaper Deutsche Welle wrote that Ukraine had only recovered 1,212 of the 6,000 bodies of its soldiers, and that the reason for this was that the authorities had managed to get the families of the 1,212 deceased to refuse monetary compensation. In reality, no such article exists. The information spread by the Russian propagandists is completely fabricated and has no confirmation whatsoever. From the publication of the Center for Countering Disinformation of Ukraine on Telegram.
Using the names, or better said, abusing the names of well-known international media outlets is a common tactic in Russian propaganda to pour in at least some credibility to completely absurd, fabricated stories. These messages are intended to fuel emotional distress and weaken public confidence in Ukraine. And the Russian fake here is targeted specifically at the families of POWs and those missing defenders of Ukraine, as well as for the international audience.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Russia may use the Zapad 2025, West 2025 drills to boost troop numbers on the Ukrainian front, says Latvia's Deputy Defense Secretary for Logistics, Andis Dīlāns. He believes that Moscow isn't ready yet to attack a NATO country due to lack of resources. Still, the Baltic states see the joint Russia-Belarus exercises as a threat. Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia are reinforcing borders and testing emergency alert systems. Ukrainian intelligence also warns of possible provocations. More details in a report for you.
Belarus is relocating its upcoming military exercises further inland, away from the Ukrainian border. This decision by Alexander Lukashenko may be influenced by recent advances made by Ukrainian defense forces in Russia's Kursk region, according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
I believe Lukashenko is genuinely afraid that Ukraine could interpret the presence of Russian troops at the drills as preparation for an offensive. After our response in the Kursk direction, he understands what we're capable of if we perceive a threat. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, during a press briefing with journalists.
News about Russia and Belarus planning joint military drills on Belarusian territory first emerged in 2024. In October of that year, the general staffs of both countries began preparations for the Zapad 2025, West 2025 exercises, scheduled for September. Then, on May 28th, Belarusian Defense Minister Viktor Krynin announced that authorities had decided to reduce the scale of the exercises and move them away from Belarus's western borders, citing a desire to ease regional tensions.
We have decided to scale down the scope of the Zapad 2025 drills and to relocate the main maneuvers further inside Belarusian territory, away from the western borders. Viktor Krynin, Belarusian defense minister, on Telegram.
То, что они сейчас заявляют о
What
том,
they're saying about moving the exercises inland may not actually happen. There's still a lot of time until September. And relocating the drills doesn't mean the northern border with Lithuania or the southern one with Ukraine is safe. Belarus is a small country. Troops can march from one end to the other in a day or two.
Recently, Russia began transporting military cargo to Belarus's Machulishchi air base using Il-76 aircraft, according to the defense news portal Militarny. Heavy lift Antonov and 124-100 aircraft have also been involved. Machulishchi is one of the few bases in Belarus capable of accommodating large military transport planes. Since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the base has served as a key hub for Russian forces. The aviation monitoring group Avivector has tracked heightened activity by Russian military transport aircraft.
In June 2025, Russian military transport planes began flying to Belarusian airfields in preparation for the Russia-Belarus joint drills. Zapad 2025 planned for this fall. We visualized some of the recent flights to and from Belarus, and will continue to keep you informed as more data becomes available. From Avivector's post on X social network.
The question of Belarus's possible direct involvement in Russia's war against Ukraine has been raised since the invasion began. However, Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service believes that Russia likely doesn't see Belarus as a significant military ally. The Belarusian army is small, poorly equipped, and undertrained. Additionally, Belarus's economy is entirely dependent on Russia.
When Russia, who thought it could win the war in 3 days, ran into weapons shortages in 2022, Belarus gave them everything it could from its stockpiles: ammunition, equipment, T-72 tanks, BMP-2s, sights, body armor, helmets, and even machine tools. Now, they've set up their own production of the munitions Russia lacks: rockets, artillery shells, everything needed for war. The Belarusian defense industry has become an extension of Russia's. Around 80% of Belarus's defense firms are integrated into Russia's defense complex. It's basically one and the same system. Ole Ivashchenko, head of Ukraine's Foreign Intelligence Service, in an interview with Ukrainian media.
Still, a Russian invasion of Ukraine, or of the Baltic states, from Belarus remains one of the most plausible scenarios. The head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, Bruno Kahl, has warned that Russia is preparing to strike NATO territory. The Kremlin, he says, is determined to expand its influence at any cost.
We are very sure, and we have intelligence evidence to back this up, that Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine is only one step on Russia's path towards the West. Bruno Kahl, president of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, in an interview with The Times.
According to Kahl, Moscow is preparing to test NATO's Article 5 on collective defense. It wouldn't take massive bombings. Sending so-called little green men into Estonia, as they did in Crimea, under the guise of protecting the Russian-speaking minority, might be enough. Then they'll wait and see. Will the U.S. president really send American troops across the Atlantic to defend a NATO ally?
As Ukraine continues its battle on the front lines, the armed forces have received a boost. New domestically produced drones ready to take on combat missions. Ukraine's Volynaka is a powerful hexacopter bomber designed to hit deep behind enemy lines. First used in the early days of Russia's full-scale invasion, it has destroyed hundreds of enemy vehicles, bunkers and troops. Built for tough conditions indeed, the Volynaka flies in any weather, even at dusk or in strong winds. It features a reusable drone with 6 powerful motors controlled via remote unit goggles and a signal repeater. Beyond striking targets, it also delivers vital gear to the front, providing itself both a weapon and a lifeline. Constantly upgraded, the Volynaka stands as a symbol of Ukrainian innovation and battlefield resilience. Ukrainian drones striking deep behind enemy lines. They target enemy supply routes, destroy military equipment, and disrupt communication systems. Our team visited the frontline positions of the Dart strike drone crews. Couple of minutes of your precious time kindly needed.
The crews of the Darts strike UAVs from the 45th Brigade are defending a section of the front line in the Kharkiv and Donetsk regions. When we arrive, they're already hard at work. The soldiers are assembling a drone wing that will soon take off on combat missions to strike Russian targets.
A drone can be ready for flight in just 10 minutes. That's enough time to assemble it, attach the wings, and install the battery.
The soldiers say the Ukrainian darts can be compared in design to the Russian Molnya. It can fly about 50 kilometers to reach its target, carrying up to 3 kilograms of explosives.
We can't really call them long range. These aren't the drones you see on the news that fly 800 or 1,000 kilometers, but they are good for controlling enemy supply routes.
Thanks to a built-in cruise control system, the drone can fly part of the route autonomously. As it nears the target, the pilot takes over to guide it manually.
If the target is locked correctly, the pilot confirms it, and the drone switches to autopilot. Then autopilot handles the final 100 to 200 meters to the target. The drone is no longer manually controlled.
Each drone crew consists of 4 members. One handles the warhead setup, a pyrotechnic specialist, while the others are responsible for communication and flight routes. For missions, they often operate deep behind enemy lines and frequently work directly in combat zones.
One target was a truck stuck at a river crossing. It got stuck in the water. Maybe the crossing collapsed. Who knows? We hit it, and it burned. On another mission, we were tasked with locating air defense systems, but instead we found an enemy UAV crew. That crew no longer exists.
There's nothing safe about the work these crews do. Recently, one of them came under attack by a Russian drone while en route to a position.
The crew survived, but the vehicle and equipment were destroyed. Still, we're grateful everyone made it out alive.
The team insists that even incidents like this won't stop them. They've already taken out dozens of Russian targets, and there's still much work ahead. Reported by Alyona Gramova, Yevgeny Karmazin from Donetsk region, UATV News.
That was it for today. My name is Henry Keane, and we are News Pulse at UATV English. We thank you so very much for your time and attention. We appreciate that a lot, as it helps the Ukrainian voice to be heard worldwide. Please comment and subscribe. Join the Ukrainian fight for freedom and sovereignty. Hope to see you very soon. That's just tomorrow. Goodbye.